Assemblyman Lopez, I want to thank you very much for joining us. I know that it has been a very trying time for you, so thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you. It's trying for this community, and a community that's suffered greatly.
You are actually joining us from downtown Schoharie. You're on Main Street, and right across from you is your childhood home, and it has been very severely damaged.
That's correct. I've been here since I was 12. I turned 50 this year. My mom and dad have lived in this house for over 3 decades. And right now we're not sure if they can come back.
Tell me what happened. They were evacuated before the water started rising?
Well, effectively, as we were, I was working with the Emergency Operations Center. And effectively, in addition to the rainwater and the normal flooding, this valley also deals with the specter of the potential collapse of the Gilboa Reservoir and the New York State Power Authority Reservoir, roughly 10 billion gallons of water in storage. And once we learned, and I was in conversation with their Director of Operations west of Hudson, Paul Rush, once we learned of the potential hazard of the dam, we had to evacuate this valley for the safety of the people. And my parents were one of the first 2 to leave. My mother was very emotional, understandably. We actually evacuated them to the school, which is just beyond my house. Eventually, we had to take them and others who were in other shelters out of those areas because the potential dam threat, the threat of the dam collapse, compromised those emergency shelters as well as the Emergency Management Center for Schoharie County, which would have been in the middle of the inundation area.
And your home too was impacted, your family home where you are living currently, or you were living?
I live not far from here. The family home is intact. We were just outside of the flood area. But like many others in this valley, the Schoharie Valley, and actually in the northern Catskills, which I represent, Prattsville, Windham, parts of Delaware County, the Margaretville and Walton area, many are without power, without water, without sanitary facilities, and have been so for at least 2 days now, going into a 3rd day. And so there are many complications, of course, as you can imagine. Power had to be shut out for public safety as individual homes were compromised, septic systems in some cases, but more importantly, fuel storage, oil tanks, propane systems were damaged. And so to avoid risk of fire, power is shut off. So we're now in the process of going door to door, house to house, to determine relative safety of structures before power can be turned on and before municipal services can be restored.
Where are you right now? You and your family are still in an evacuation center?
My mom and dad have been taken from the area and now we're living with a brother in Columbia County. My wife and I are still trying to occupy our home. Our children are all in other locations safely. So my wife and I are staying close to the community for now. As we continue to work, my wife is working, and my job, of course, is to try to help put pieces together, state, federal, local, and assess needs. And really, what we're looking at, the needs of the community, get people out of danger first, address issues of food, shelter, water, ice for refrigeration. The next issue will be to get the municipal services restored and the utility services. And then the last piece, yes, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, please, the last piece will be?
The last piece will be the aspect of assessing what financial resources may be made available to help homes, families, businesses recover.
Can you tell us at this point that the dam threat is no longer an issue?
We've been advised by the Director of Operations, again, Paul Rush, out of the Catskill region, Catskill Mountain region, that the dam has been independently evaluated by their engineer and by an outside engineer. So all we have is the word of New York City Department of Environmental Protection that the dam at this time is safe. But I can tell you that there has been an ongoing conversation in this community and others throughout the Catskill region, the Ashokan, other reservoir systems, about the issue of balancing drinking water supplies for the city of New York and the public safety of the people who live downstream. So this conversation will continue after this event.
Well, that's, of course, an ongoing conversation that's been had for quite a number of years now between the communities in the Catskills that service the people downstate and, and New York City's various administrations.
True.
Do you feel, we've heard from people in Prattsville and Windham and other communities that were very hard hit, that they are at this point uncertain as to what the future will be. Do you believe that your community will be able to get back up from this and rebuild? Are you frightened that some people will not return?
I would say that's very, very possible. And again, as I serve the regions, those towns in question are part of my area in the Assembly. I've been in contact with those communities as well. It's very possible. And people have been struggling in this valley. Just to put it in perspective, the major flood of record really prior to this event was in 1955. 1996 was another significant event which closely approximated the 55. This event, by all accounts, exceeded the 1955 event. And it's a very short period between 96 and today to have two events of this magnitude so close together. And people are very concerned. And again, our hope is we can find a way to rebuild and make it safer. But people need to make intelligent decisions about their future, and we have heard that come from individual homes and families throughout the region.
Are you satisfied with the preparation that was undertaken by the Cuomo administration, by various emergency management officials to prepare people, because the bulk of the resources were really focused on downstate, and as it turns out, that's not where the bulk of the damage occurred?
Well, I can tell you that in respect to the governor's office, they have been on the ground. The governor has been in this county twice, has put teams in place with advisors who have been in contact with us 3-4 times daily at least. So the governor's office has been making every effort. In terms of the entire process, in terms of the relative response and the integration, that's something that we're doing our best, but to be honest, there'll be a need for a review after we try to restore some sanity and some semblance of normalcy to this region. We will have to go through and reassess procedures and decisions that were made along the way, because there are people in the community who are very frustrated and emotional, understandably, and we're going to need to come back as a community and make sure that the decisions and the resources that were available were appropriate. And as we look forward, to make sure that if there are changes to be made, that those changes are in place.
Yeah, because we have also heard some people suggest that a number of these tributaries, it's been a very wet summer in a number of areas, that we are seeing that the ground was already saturated, that some of these tributaries were already swollen, and that perhaps the warning signs were there and we weren't able to heed them because, of course, we didn't know exactly how much water Irene would be dropping on the area.
Right. Certainly in terms of this region, I think all of us who've lived in the Northeast understand that as you head into the fall, that's hurricane season. But the issue of the impact and the reach of hurricanes, particularly with inland areas, is so variable. And this particular event exceeded records in many areas. So the challenge, particularly in the mountainous areas that we live, tremendous rainfall over a very compressed time, limited ability for absorption, and so tremendous runoff as a result, and concentrated in very narrow valleys with rapidly moving water. So you take all those things and put them together, and I had one gentleman who had come from the coast in the mid-Atlantic. He said, we're so far inland, I would never expect an event like this. And again, the reality of it is the geography, the topography that takes water, contributes to rapid runoff, and then concentrates it in very narrow valleys to very damaging effect.
Assemblyman, I know that your community has been devastated, that you yourself obviously are facing a very difficult time. That area is so beautiful and special to me and to a lot of people, I think, who are familiar with it. And viewers, I think, are touched and frustrated. Is there anything that they can do to help? We will be speaking to someone from the Red Cross a little later in the show, but you know, the sun is shining. It's hard for people to understand exactly how bad it is on the ground it's like where you are.
You're right, and again, from an aerial view, and we've seen aerial photos, I went up just to look if you were to look at the mountains and the areas that are not inhabited, you'd be hard-pressed to tell that anything ever happened here. But the real damage and the real evidence is in the settled areas where the structures were damaged, where the water remained in the region, right in the immediate area, because it had nowhere to go. And so on that first piece, yes, it's very telling in the settled areas. That's particularly where the damage is very evident. In regard to your second question, our challenge has been to find individuals to step forward. We do have central operations, and we have people volunteering, local businesses and others. We're trying to coordinate that through their efforts. In addition, certainly neighbors and businesses are always happy to have a helping hand with a mop or a bucket or carrying out furniture. So for the viewers, certainly to work through official channels would be helpful. Certainly if they have friends or neighbors unofficially to help them, I'm sure that would be welcome. But part of our challenge, again, is also making sure that we do it in a safe fashion. Law enforcement is particularly concerned about individuals who may not be part of a solution, who may be coming just out of curiosity, or others who may not have proper intentions coming into the community. So there are safeguards in place. So my encouragement would be to work with the proper channels, local authorities first, to make sure that they can get in, and really to coordinate efforts where we can. And but we do appreciate the goodwill. Right now, we're waiting on the governor to make the strongest case for resources to flow into the community to restore homes and businesses as best we can.
And I believe that he has. He has requested expedited federal disaster assistance from the Obama administration, and we will be keeping everybody updated about that. Assemblyman, I'm going to let you get back to the community. I really want to thank you for sharing time with us, and good luck.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for your compassion. We're doing our best.